North Carolina dominant overall, and Duke has never beaten North Carolina in the NCAA tournament. But it is the Blue Devils who are your #1 overall seed in this tournament in 2024. So much anticipation for these two teams meeting for an unprecedented 4th time this season. So let's love the game one more time tonight from Cary. North Carolina in white, Duke in the darker blue. 2 regular season meetings went the way of the Blue Devils, but then they would meet again on this field in the ACC tournament semifinals. That's where a late goal from Trinity Armstrong, the player you just mentioned for North Carolina, won it for the Tar Heels. And now this one for a spot in the championship game to take on Wake Forest. Demon Deacons 1-0 winners against Stanford in our first semifinal tonight. 3 back for Duke. Cam Roller in the middle, Nikki Chico, Katie Groff. Veteran presence across the back for the Blue Devils. And of course, Leah Freeman in goal, only player ever to be named goalkeeper of the year in 2 different conferences. Won it with Oregon in the Pac-12 and then this year in the ACC. Laguerre lost it in the middle. Tar Heels take over. There's Armstrong. North Carolina also adjusting their formation a little bit, Lori, anticipating what they'd see from Duke. As you said, there are no secrets at this point. These two teams know each other so well.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the details. Just as we continue to say in this conference, it's all about the fine margins. And in these games, when emotions are heightened, there's a lot of energy. The fans are going to be loud. It's just about taking care of the details. And we've seen this North Carolina team shift formations throughout the season, but when Trinity Armstrong came back from the U17s, really the catalyst for being able to make that change. She can drive forward, allows them to get more numbers in those wide areas to be able to attack more.
Damon Nahas, the interim head coach. He's been, though, on Anson Dorrance's staff now for 8.5 years, taking over an interim role, and what an incredible job he has done this season. 20 wins for the Tar Heels, 7-3 mark in conference play, and back in the College Cup for an incredible, unprecedented 32nd time. A foul against Duke is going to set North Carolina up. Ashley Cedro, our referee in charge of this match tonight. Maria Nagai committing the foul. One of the transfers, grad transfer from Princeton, joining this North Carolina team this year. And there is Robbie Church, who is ready to head to the beach. He said his wife has been patient with him for over 40 years, but after Duke missed out on the NCAA tournament last year, he said, oh, I can't go out this way. I think he's feeling much better about where his team is now, but maybe hoping for one more win after this and a chance to play for a title. Duke takes over and has a chance to counter quickly. Mia Minestrella, number 13 for Duke, has had an incredible season, 12 goals, 7 assists. Are we going to start counting fouls now, or are we just going to assume we're going to see quite a few?
Again, this game's starting off with a ton of energy like we saw in the first semifinal, Wake Forest versus Stanford, but a few more fouls. But this is a hybrid formation. Yes, they are playing a 3-back for North Carolina, but Alvarez, who just saw dispossess the Duke Blue Devils, will shift back into that back 3 to make it a back 4. That will allow for Darlene on that far side to be able to push higher up the field, get more numbers into the attack. So expect that throughout this game.
Avon Alvarez, freshman out of New Hill, North Carolina. First start of this NCAA tournament has been coming off the bench. Linda Olmark, another freshman for the Tar Heels. Remember, so much change. You're going to hear freshman, you're going to hear transfer. There is only one player on this Tar Heel team who was a starter last year. That is Emerson Elgin. Fossey came off the bench, as did Delarose, and this team not giving up. Haven't even met mentioned Olivia Thomas, and boy should we. She was the one who took that shot. Such a force and a factor up top for the Tar Heels.
Well, she missed 8 games at the beginning of this season due to injury, then came back. It really feels like she's starting to come into form at the exact right time. There's a little no-look pass outside the foot. It's a little bit heavy initially, or Thomas doesn't read it, but then dispossesses, has one thing on her mind, to go to goal. Forces Freeman to go to ground, make the save on the near post.
Thomas, just a completely different type of 9, that center striker for the Tar Heels. Duke, Ella Haas, one of the wing backs for this Blue Devil team, who they want to find often in this matchup. That is where Robbie Church, Kieran Hall, who's going to be taking over for Robbie, thinks they can find some ground. Your keys, Lori, for Duke tonight?
Yeah, the first one is just going to be about patience in the attack for the Duke Blue Devils. They are the best when they get their wide players involved in the game. So switching the play, using their midfield, and as I mentioned, the number 2, control the midfield. Theoretically, they should have a numerical advantage in the central parts. Can they use that to their advantage to find those wide areas, serve balls into box, cause problems for North Carolina?
Causing problems for North Carolina is one of Maggie Graham's absolute favorite things to do. She's number 19 for Duke, leading scorer on the season, 14 goals, 5 assists for the grad student and captain, number 19, out of Atlanta. Kate Fossey, number 13, the player we've talked about, and why not, 19 goals, all ACC first team Herman Trophy semifinalist right there, number 13 for the Tar Heels. She is knocked down. That is a foul against Duke. Your keys for North Carolina, Lori?
Yeah, it's all about winning your individual duels, because as we said, there's not going to be really any surprises tactically. So it's about taking care of business, who wants it more, and then simplifying. As we've already seen, Olivia Thomas dispossessing, getting the shot off early on, not overthinking. One returning starter, if you've already mentioned that, Elgin on that back line. So simplifying early on in this game to be able to build in with confidence.
That's Alvarez, freshman we mentioned, getting her first start of this postseason. Did start 11 times in the regular season for the Tar Heels. Nagai. Fossey. This ball bounces up for Thomas, who was wasting no time. That will be a throw for the Tar Heels.
And even just in the last month, from the ACC tournament to now, Thomas on the front foot, looks a lot more agile, comfortable after coming back from the hamstring injury.
Gets this ball through. Bellicatino, one of those 3 backs for the Tar Heels in this formation, along with Armstrong in the middle and Elgin. Maddie Darlene on the far side, dispossessed. Katie Groff, one of those players who you jokingly said when we talked to her yesterday, Lori, said Groff and Graham feel like they've been at Duke forever. He said, yeah, it kind of feels that way too, but this is the season they've been waiting for. This is what they have been playing for. Duke in the College Cup for the 5th time, but the first time since 2017. Graham. A chance in the middle. Minestrella is there. Then the flag has come up.
We actually, with how loud this place is, we didn't hear the whistle go. It was a wonderful turn to be able to get faced up, but then you can see how disorganized that back line is for North Carolina. One stepping, leaves the gaps. That opens up the space for Minestrella. Just in a bit of an offside position.
Nagai working through Elgin. Darlene. Up and over, down she goes. Penalty on the way for the Tar Heels. And the player who has done it all season long, Maddie Darlene, earns another one. She has drawn the foul now on 6 of the 10 penalties North Carolina has earned this season.
Well, just look at the positioning of Chico, because right there, just at the last second, no need to be sticking her foot out. Darlene, this is exactly what she's trying to do. Draw the defender, a little bit of a touch to be able to change pace. Baits Chico and then pulls her down. It's a clear penalty. Wonderful work from Darlene. Last thing Duke wants to be doing is allow her time and space to get faced up, running at their back line.
You talked about individual battles, Lori. We mentioned Fossey and Freeman. Here we go. Fossey 2 for 2 from the spot on the season. North Carolina as a team 8 for 9, but Leah Freeman, opponents 0 for 2 against her. Who will prevail this time? Fossey for North Carolina. Yes, the Tar Heels take the lead.
Well, it's a dream start for North Carolina. And this is why they play this hybrid formation, because it allows for Darlene to get higher up the field, have fewer responsibilities defensively. She gets faced up, takes 3 players on right there. Baits Chico to come out, draws a foul, clear penalty, and then steps up. And then when a player's in form, look at this penalty kick. Just excellent. Top corner, Freeman goes one way, but she's not saving this one against Fossey. 20th goal on the season. Excellent penalty.
Fossey now alone, Lori, at the top with 20 goals this season in the country, and that is the first goal that Duke has conceded in this NCAA tournament. So, of course, it also follows now the first time they trail in the NCAA tournament. How will the Blue Devils respond?
Well, one of the goals for North Carolina was to really pin those wing backs, whether it's Haas, whether it's Oliara on that far side for Duke. Pin them back, don't allow them to get into the attack, because they are so important to the way that they want to get numbers forward higher up the field for the Duke Blue Devils. And if they're having to defend, if they're having to track back, it's less of a threat for North Carolina.
Tar Heels playing with the lead after Darlene earning the penalty. Less than 10 minutes in this game. North Carolina trying to avenge a couple of regular season losses to the Blue Devils. North Carolina last year eliminated in the quarterfinals of the NCAA tournament. This is their 32nd College Cup appearance, but they have not won it all since 2012. There's been a similar storyline, I would say, between the two teams of togetherness, what they're playing for the Blue Devils, obviously playing for Robbie Church, who after 24 years as the head coach at Duke is retiring. Kieran Hall, Carla Overbeck, former Tar Heel, by the way, will be taking charge of the program. But so many injuries that Duke has had to contend with. I mean, you can't talk about this season without talking about that Cat Raider in the North Carolina game went down. That was a nice move just to make the defender miss by Fossey. North Carolina can't add to the scoreline, not yet.
And I'm sure Robbie Church right now is just telling his bench, his coaching staff, that this is where they need to calm down, especially in possession. Move the ball around, shorter passes, because as soon as they get to dispossess, if they are too stretched, that's going to favor Fossey, Thomas going the other way.
Fossey, you're going to like this. That goal for Fossey, not only number 20 on the season, but she just tied your pal, Heather O'Reilly, for most postseason goals in North Carolina history. That was her 8th.
Don't tell Heather O'Reilly that.
Well, she's coming for you, Heyo. Duke getting to the end line, earning a corner here, so the Blue Devils seeing if they can take advantage of the set piece. These have come into play for both teams in the meetings this season. They play it quickly. Now the surface toward that back post. Groff puts it back around that edge of the area. It is shot. This Duke team, a program record 68 goals on the season, 53 better than they had a year ago, 12 wins better than they had a year ago.
Well, there's that ball served in from Lynch, forcing the save from Gagné. Wide surfaces, as we've mentioned, are going to be key, regardless of who floats out to those wide areas. Serving balls in, they've been so dangerous. Getting the late runners on the far post is a lot of teams' problems.
Toss. Transfer from Northwestern. 13 assists on the season for Haas. On the other side, Oliaro, the former Tar Heel, 13 assists for her as well. That's the service we've been talking about that Duke has taken such great advantage of this season. Laguerre, an underrated player in the midfield, according to Robbie Church. Devin Lynch has really stepped up in the attack. Minestrella, big year for her. Her shot is blocked. 4 goals in this NCAA tournament already for Minestrella, although tied a program record with 4 of them in the first round against Howard. Lynch. Oliaro. Some of the best service that Robbie Church says he has ever seen in terms of being able to really pick out exactly where she wants to put it.
Oh, and right there you can see just if they dominate those central areas, they have the extra player, then they can free it up in those wide channels. It's just a few under-hit loose balls once they do try to serve the last 2 attempts. Just need to clean that up. But it's much better for the Duke Blue Devils to win the individual battles in the central areas, play wide, and then get the service in.
That throw-in from Ella Haas. It's like a bounce pass in basketball, the way she put so much force into it coming up off the ground, which I'm sure is pretty frozen. I think we're under 30 degrees now. The temperature is supposed to be in the low 20s by the time this one is over tonight. Coldest game of the year for all 4 teams we confirmed here at the College Cup tonight.
No, it's crossed.
Hannah Bibar, ACC second team selection grad transfer from Harvard. Number 18 in the middle for Duke. Helps free up those attacking players. Out, back in, and a collision in front of the goal. Claire Gagné hanging on.
Well, it's excellent work from Gattino because she has to stay with Maggie Graham, but this is the most well-worked play that we've seen from the Duke Blue Devils in this first half. There's the ball across, and then Maggie Graham coming in late. Both of those players have the right to go for it. Maybe a late challenge from Graham as she's coming in behind. Really nowhere for either of those players to go, but Gattino does such a good job just trying to box out Maggie Graham, allow for Gagné to come in front of her and keep a hold of the ball. Really well done defensively.
Bella Gattino, member of the ACC All-Freshman team this year. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Her sister, Ava Gattino, 2-time All-American and ACC Defender of the Year at Notre Dame, now playing at PSG in France. Thomas. Laguerre knew where to go. Space out wide, Oliaro. Goal contribution, either goal or an assist in 12 of her last 14 games. Going for it here, Gagne. A lot of pace on that shot, but Gagne up to the challenge.
Yeah, maybe just a bit ambitious from Oliaro, but I like the opportunity because she sees no one to be able to play the ball off of, to combine with. Instead, just gets faced up. No one steps to her. She goes herself. Takes a little bit of a bounce, so it causes a little bit more problems for Gagne than maybe expected, but no one there to follow it up.
Gagne, a transfer from Brown, joining the Tar Heels this season in goal. Air Claire, they call her. Some of her acrobatic saves that she's made this season. You know you've got to be good to earn the Air nickname if you're playing at North Carolina. Not the best ball from Catino there. The guy gets caught up and eventually turns it over. Only one player forward. Wise decision for the Tar Heels to go back. Thomas was all alone with a sea of darker blue around her when North Carolina took possession. There's Armstrong. All-ACC first-team selection as a freshman, just 17 years old, in the center of that Tar Heel defense. That's a good ball. Duke and Haas looking for the equalizer. What a tempting ball that was, and Haas earning the corner kick for Duke as a result.
Oh, this is why Bibar and Laguerre in the midfield have been so important. Just doesn't force the issue, allows for Haas just to sneak in the wrong side of Alvarez. Gagne once again, at the start of this game, so strong, comes up with a big save, sends it over the inline, and Duke has a chance here off the corner kick.
Second corner of the match for the Blue Devils. First one they played short, this one more traditional service, but it is with Thomas and North Carolina now. I want to give you our ABC College Football Championship Saturday lineup. We start with 18th ranked Iowa State, 16th ranked Arizona State in the Dr. Pepper Big 12 title game at noon Eastern, followed by number 7 Georgia, number 3 Texas in the SEC, and finally it's 12th ranked Clemson and 9th ranked SMU for the ACC Championship. ACC game going on just down the road in Charlotte. We are in Cary, North Carolina. And a chance for the Tar Heels to maybe add to their lead. Shot was blocked. Our good friend Jen Cooper, who is our NWSL guru when it comes to stats and history, letting us know we're going to have the first all-North Carolina final in women's soccer since '92. We know that already with Wake Forest being through and now either Duke or North Carolina to face them. Corner kick coming now for the Tar Heels. Thomas helping to earn that for her team. It was a corner kick that won the match for North Carolina in the ACC semifinals in the 81st minute. So keep an eye on number 3, Trinity Armstrong. She was the target then who finished it off for her first career goal. Bending in, beautiful ball off the post, nearly goes in again, but Freeman pounces on it.
Well, what a ball that is was from Tessa Della Rose. Just whips it in with her left foot. It is Thomas that just gets in front of her defender right there at the last second, just ricochets it off of the top post. Just unfortunate for the front runner, and Leah Freeman just left in that position to be hopeful that it doesn't find the back of the net and put North Carolina up 2-0.
I feel like with Olivia Thomas, there's nothing that she does that is not without power and force. She is just such a fun player to watch, which is not to say that she doesn't have some finesse, because she does too. Had some micro crochet earrings on when we talked to her yesterday, and she is a crocheter in her spare time, so she has a soft side. But on the field, whew, watch out, this player is coming at you.
And just to add to what Lori was saying, Jen, about the importance of the set pieces, both coaches knew that coming into this match, set pieces could very well be the deciding factor. But one other key difference I'm noticing down here on the sideline from the last time these two teams met in the ACC semifinal is the amount of pressure North Carolina midfielders are able to get on the Duke midfielders. They have been very keen, very determined to not give them time, not give them space. I felt like the last time these two teams met, the Duke midfielders were able to solve pressure and solve it efficiently and get on the front foot offensively from there. Not the case so far here in this first half.
Yeah, they made that adjustment in the second half of the ACC tournament semifinal. They stepped up their pressure. North Carolina in the midfield. It did cause problems for the Duke Blue Devils. I think at times we are seeing Duke move the ball really well and then finding their wide areas. But if they can win it back and put pressure immediately higher up the field, that's when Duke's getting caught. Can't seem to get out of their own half.
Marion Crowder down on the sideline for us. Great analysis there, Marion. I'm glad you haven't frozen yet. Joining our crew for this College Cup and Carry. Groff end up losing it over the top. Thomas could feast on this. Thomas! North Carolina makes it 2!
Well, immediately when we saw this game get stretched in the first 10 minutes, we said that's going to favor Fossey, Thomas at different times. Now, this is just one big ball over the top, and what an emphatic finish this is. Thomas on the wrong side of Chico. Chico has cheated to that near side, cutting across. Thomas just able to bypass her. Freeman's coming off her line to keep herself big. But my goodness, what a finish. Just one look to get her head up, tucks it right into that near post.
Now this goal is being reviewed. Ashley Cedro over to take a look. Is there a potential offside in play here? Or does North Carolina have two?
I'm not so sure. It looked like it was offside in the run of play.
It is a good goal for North Carolina.
Well, for how good Duke has been defensively, 2 unanswered goals right here. And it's just one big ball over the top, and actually had been Groff that had made the run higher up the field, so it leaves them in a 2v1 situation, but they're caught flat-footed. Chico once again trying to come over to close the gap between her and Roller. But Thomas is wise to it, gets on the wrong side, but this is composure at the end. What a finish that is. Just tucks it in. Freeman's coming out trying to make herself big, close down the angle, and now this is a huge task for the Duke Blue Devils, who haven't found themselves trailing in this tournament. And only 13 goals conceded so far on this season, 2 here tonight. So how they compose themselves, how they keep.
Well, this could help. Oh, it is just high.
Yeah, that's an ample opportunity, again, coming from that far side, but how they compose themselves, how they keep themselves calm in these situations. There's Oliaro just spinning, finding just a little bit of space to get that off. It just a bit too high for Haas to be able to connect successfully up with it.
Now, Haas has had 2 of the better looks for Duke so far. The wingback for the Blue Devils, all ACC second team selection this year. It was an all Big Ten selection with Northwestern last year. She scored 10 goals in her final year with the Wildcats, 3 goals this season for Duke. North Carolina taking it away. Linda Olmark lost it. Gatino, who had the assist on that last goal by Thomas, won it back for North Carolina. This looks like a really confident North Carolina team right now, and they relished this matchup yet again, as did all the Duke players. Haas literally just trying to run through and over the two North Carolina defenders.
Yeah, and I can see Gatino is not happy with that, and I understand why, because Alvarez had done such a good job of just driving her into the path of Gatino, and Haas didn't have anywhere to go. So here she goes on the run. Well, the second look, Gatino just puts her body right in front of it and bodies her up. Okay, fair enough. That is a foul on Gatino. One of the things that this North Carolina team does, and we heard Marion allude to it, just stepping up the pressure, but it is allowing for Fosse to drop back and create the numerical or even number situation in the midfield.
Lynch with the service for Duke off the free kick. Graham wants the shot, takes it, hits the post. Oh, buckle up and bundle up, everybody. Yeah, it's cold, but this match is something else.
Well, they needed that. Maggie Graham, 2 good opportunities in this game, trying to get on the service earlier. That time just unleashes a shot. Unfortunate not to find the back of the net. Just get herself out of trouble. Just enough of a bend. Oh, excuse me, it's Laguerre?
Yeah, I threw you off. It was Laguerre. That's on me.
Jen, you mentioned bundle up, and I just had to point out that Kieran Hall is actually the first person in this stadium I've seen shed clothing.
Oh, come on.
He came in with a puffer. He's been coaching in a puffer ever since and has just now taken the puffer off. So at least someone's warm down here.
That is associate head coach Kieran Hall, who Marion is referring to. I mean, he's not quite at Brian Penske's shorts level yet, right, Marion? Florida State head coach.
I do wonder if this would be the weather that actually put Brian Penske in full-length trousers.
It would not.
Brian Penske and Florida State, the defending national champs and the ACC tournament champs this year, made an early exit in Tallahassee on penalties in this NCAA tournament, losing to Vanderbilt in that match. What a year it's been for the ACC. It's an incredible run. All 4 teams here, 6 of the 8 in the quarterfinals from the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Well, good work defensively, but that ball just initially needs to go out to Haas. Instead of trying to play the through ball and dispossess and then allow for North Carolina to try to break out, go on the other side, and just forcing your defenders to have to run a lot more than they need to, just keep possession. Just keep possession, simplify your game. That's how you're going to get one back. 1 goal at a time if you're the Duke Blue Devils, but instead forcing too many opportunities when they just know that most of their success throughout this season has come from the wide areas. Keep moving it, keep switching the point of play.
2-goal lead for North Carolina. Duke had not conceded, had not trailed in this tournament. They're the #1 overall seed. You would say the favorites coming in, despite the overall history belonging to North Carolina in the series. Fosse from the penalty spot in the 10th, Thomas in the 24th. That's your scoreline so far in favor of the Tar Heels.
And I just want to finish that point I was trying to make earlier about what Marion was alluding to, just stepping up their pressure. At times they'll just tuck Fosse back in, and once they play into Laguerre or Bibar trying to build out, they've got numbers around, they dispossess, then Olmark is the free player once they do win it. That's been the difference. So either Graham or Lynch are going to have to drop down and be an extra player to alleviate some of that pressure. And then they can get faced up and run at the back line. But it's not happening quick enough. It's allowing that pressure to come from North Carolina. And it's building on their confidence and their success with the 2 goals.
Final scoreline in the ACC semifinal matchup between these 2 teams was 2-1, although North Carolina didn't get the final goal in that one until late. That was the last time that Duke conceded at all. And those are your score lines from throughout the season. 1-0, we were on the call for that one in Durham. That was officially a non-conference matchup. And then Halloween night, that had to be a wild time at Chapel Hill. Duke sweeping the 2 regular season beatings. Mary Long, Phoebe Goldthwait coming off the bench for the Blue Devils, replacing Minestrella and Lynch in the attack. basketball just took a bad touch. A little extra effort to keep it in play. And eventually it goes out. What a top 10 men's college basketball matchup we have Saturday night on ESPN2 and the ESPN app. Number 4 Kentucky taking on number 7 Gonzaga. Coverage begins at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific from Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. Whew, had a hard time getting that one out. But a good game, so many good games going on right now. Obviously, here we are at the College Cup. Expected sellout, a lot of seats filled here in Cary for this North Carolina Duke semifinal. Great basketball games going on as well. Some football too, as we've talked about, championship weekend. That ball is turned over in a bad spot. North Carolina already up 2. Delarose, give her some more opportunities from corner kicks. I mean, that ball that she bent in was absolutely gorgeous. That Thomas wound up putting off the post. Didn't finish that one for a goal. Thomas would go on to score a few minutes later. For so long, over the last few years, the knock on Duke had been great defense, just not enough offense. And this year, Robbie Church, as this one could bounce in a bad spot. It's not. Freeman's got it. But Robbie Church told us early, he said, you know, I think we've got it going this year offensively.
We didn't believe it at
first. We weren't sure.
We've been through a lot of those 0-0 ties throughout the years.
This is offside here.
Yeah, but this is what Mary Long will bring you on that front line, just always testing the back 3. They're going to need that to at least push those back 3, particularly Armstrong Gattino, as much as possible back and open up some space underneath.
But more goals this season have added Marion to the biggest turnaround for Duke in Division I this season.
Cup teammate Trinity Armstrong. So Mary Long, number 10 in Duke Blue right there, and Trinity Armstrong, number 3, the center back for this UNC Tar Heels squad, helped lead the U.S. to a bronze medal at the U17 World Cup. They are friends, they are close with one another, and now going and competing against each other in the biggest stage in women's college soccer.
Well, you know there's going to be a lot of connections back and forth between these two programs, right, Marion? Thank you. As stopped here for just a moment to check on Emerson Elgin, the only player starting for North Carolina in this match, and really for most of the year, that was also a starter for North Carolina last year. That's just incredible. Speaks to what this group has done, to what Damon Nahas has done. There is Trinity Armstrong, who Marion was just talking about, part of that U17 World Cup team, along with Mary Long for Duke. Groff wants to keep it wide up that sideline, give Long a chance to go. This is going to be a foul called against Mary Long. Her parents, Chris and Angie Long, owners of the Kansas City Current in the NWSL, great soccer family. CPKC Stadium, which hosted the NWSL Championship this year, will host the College Cup next year. Should be fun. Although I did notice that there was snow blanketing CPKC Stadium the week after the NWSL final, so I don't want to be seeing any snow angels next year, all right? You can feel this is a point in the match where Ashley Cedra, our referee, is just wanting to make sure things stay under control. This is Duke, North Carolina, after all. This is what these teams have built and played for. And Gattino picking up a yellow card after all that. Damon Nahas clearly not happy after that booking. There's Delarose.
Well, Damon Nahas wouldn't be happy with that yellow card, given that this is a young defender of his that does like to play on the edge. She does like to get stuck in. Very much a front-footed center back, Gatino, and to be sitting on a yellow card. Don't often talk about that in the college game, but certainly in a professional game. Go after that player. See if you can force them into precarious positions to have to defend the attackers.
Oh, look at Thomas. Oh, the shot at the crossbar, the follow. But Olivia Thomas, she is putting on a show here tonight.
Well, we've seen her go in behind. We've seen her just body up, and just look at her positioning here. Just uses her body. Alvarez gets her head up. And then Olmark, she'll have a free roll tonight to be able to float out wide, but just that positioning, use of her body from Thomas to be able to ward off the defender to get that shot off, and again, just gets all of it, takes a bit of a nasty bounce, so it's difficult for Donleen to be able to collect herself and keep it on frame.
And that is ACC Defensive Player of the Year, Cam Roller, who Thomas just had her way with on that shot attempt.
And I was mentioning, this looks like a completely different player. She even said it, ACC tournament, yes, had been starting to play games, but still trying to get her footing back, understanding her teammates again, the rhythm of a full 90 minutes, and now we're certainly seeing it. Her versatility, her ability to threaten in behind, she can body players up, defenders combine with others. This looks so much more smooth and confident. Goal, and then almost a second one there after that last attempt.
Another thing to add too about Olivia Thomas is she has not been shy about the work that she's put in with Damon Nahas this offseason with her mentality. She credited that with her ability to stay focused in those tough moments. And guys, we'd be remiss not to address the fact that this UNC team has extra motivation. There's no doubt that they are playing for Damon Nahas. Obviously, he's still acting as the interim head coach here for the UNC Tar Heels. And when we talked to Damon, we said, obviously, this is not your focus, but what is? He says, I just want to do this for this team, this group of girls who has meant so much to me, but I also want to do it for Anson. The only thing that I could potentially give back to him is winning a national championship. And so lots of external motivating factors here for the UNC Tar Heels.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Marion. I talked to Anson Dorrance earlier today. I know you're watching out there, Anson, probably with your feet up, relaxing, maybe not during the game. Still been pretty involved, although he's moved around Dorrance Field as he's watched games this season. His wife, Melissa, telling him he shouldn't be behind the bench yelling. So he's moved, but obviously still such a big part of this team. And this team, no doubt, they've got the idea that they'd like to give him a victory and another shot at a national title as well. 22 national championships for North Carolina and Anson Dorrance, if you include the one that happened before they even started awarding NCAA championships in women's soccer. Team looking good in this first half, a 2-goal lead. Chance for more, too high. Well, coverage of NCAA championships continues with the Women's College Cup final Monday, December 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Where are you, Demon Deacon fans? The Deeks are in their first ever final, wondering who they will face. For more information on the NCAA Women's College Cup, log on to ncaa.com, the official home for all 90 NCAA championships.
Yeah, just going to back to that previous conversation we were just having. I think we all have had the question of why hasn't that interim title been stripped, but also you would have to imagine, yes, the athletic department has to do their due diligence, but also one of the things that we've known about this program, known about Anson, is his advocacy for women in leadership roles, for his players. So I'd have to imagine that there's women, there's former players that are being interviewed in this process as well.
And Damon Nahas has admitted it's been a real challenge for him. It's been tough to go through this season not knowing it's weighed on him, but he has not let it affect the team. Gagne coming out far out of the goal to clear this ball, win it away. He said, look, I've done all I can do at this point. I'm at peace with whatever happens, but right now he's just focused on helping this team win another win another game. Duke has hit the post, but have not been able to find the back of the net yet in this one. Down 2 goals to the Tar Heels in the first half from Cary, North Carolina. Duke, the regular season champs, they went unbeaten through the ACC, which, as this College Cup field of 4 will attest, pretty darn good conference this year. All 4 teams from the Atlantic Coast Conference in this Women's College Cup. That's a first. Goldthwait into the match. Off the bench for Duke. Number 5 in the attack up there for the Blue Devils. Maggie Graham, ACC Midfielder of the Year. Those two trying to work together to create some magic. Good ball there. Plenty of time to set this one up, pick a target out, but a good slide and clearance made by Gattino in North Carolina.
Well, that ball just needed to be rolled across on the ground, just laid back essentially from Oliaro. Instead, just too much pace on it. Been uncharacteristic of what we've seen throughout the season from her.
Big, long clearance up the field. Graham. Oliaro always ready. And a bad touch sets up long. North Carolina very fortunate that didn't wind up as a goal.
This is much better from the Duke Blue Devils. There's the service I'm talking about from Oliaro. Forces the missed clearance right there. Trinity Armstrong facing her own goal. Doesn't make good contact with it. Finds its way through to Long. Defensively, just good connection.
Here comes the corner. Still in front, in the air. Duke with numbers. Groff. She scored some big goals for this Duke team. Not this time. And Duke will set it up again.
Yeah, it's good momentum. This is the pace that they have to push the last few minutes of this first half. Just keep going as much as possible. Whip this ball in. Good service. We've already seen throughout this game. Good service. Some good opportunities.
Hannah Bibar gets it up and over. Graham challenging for it. Back to Bibar. On the ground. Goldthwait. Not enough bend to go. Olivia Thomas has absolutely been a star so far tonight, Lori, for North Carolina.
Yeah, such a handful. Here she is, just getting on the end of that service from Tessa Della Rose. Ricochets off the crossbar, and then using her body, knows exactly where the goal is, allows it to roll across, but this was the excellent opportunity. Finishes it, just wise to it. One big ball over the top, gets on the wrong side of Chico. What a finish that is. Just tucks it to that far post. That would put them up 2-0.
Penny in, replacing Fossey for North Carolina, the nation's leading scorer. Adding, and Duke trying to get in there again. Under a minute to go. Duke looking to put one in before this first half ends. Coming up at halftime, in case you missed it, Wake Forest continues their magical season, advancing to the national championship, getting past Stanford 1-0. We'll talk about that. It is V-Week. We'll tell you how our soccer team here at ESPN helps support that cause. And of course, we'll look back at our first half here, one that has been won by North Carolina as the Blue Devils have conceded their first goals of this NCAA tournament. And Duke out shooting North Carolina so far, 13-8. 5-4 on goal, but North Carolina, the team that has made them count. 2-0, Lori, our score at the half in favor of North Carolina.
Yeah, great game plan from North Carolina, and for the Duke Blue Devils, I would imagine it has to be about just simplifying, getting back to what's made them successful. Didn't see it consistently enough in that first half.
Yep, it is chilly in Cary, below freezing. A little bit of a breeze, plenty of energy on the field. In the booth, Jen Hildreth, Lori Lindsay, Marion Crowder roaming the sidelines. Are you ready for another 45 minutes from Wake Med Soccer Park? Here we go. Tar Heels wanted to come out aggressive. They did. A goal in the first 10 minutes. Maddie Darlene doing what she does, and then Olivia Thomas taking over. Could have had more, but added a second goal in the 24th. Same starters for both teams back out on the field. So Maggie Graham, ACC Midfielder of the Year, gets it to Hannah Bibar for Duke. Bibar has been such a big addition for this team. Grad transfer coming over from Harvard. Graham. Graham fights her way back on the ball, sends it in the middle. Minestrella just couldn't corral it.
That's exactly what Robbie Church would love to see. Just turning the ball, turning the North Carolina Tar Heels over, getting it to Graham, then she gets her head up, and then you get the runner. Just a bit of a heavy touch that gets away from Minestrella, right into the path of Gagne. Good start.
Minestrella, a player in her sophomore year, really rediscovered her scoring touch this season for the Blue Devils. Darlene, so tough to keep in check, has drawn 6 penalties for the Tar Heels this season, of the 10 they have taken, including the one earlier tonight. Tessa Delarose unable to keep it in play. Mia Oliaro facing her former team, the transfer from North Carolina, number 15 there in Duke Blue now. A lot of North Carolina gear once worn by her family. Her dad, by the way, is North Carolina's Associate Director of Sports Medicine, but she said everybody else, they had to get rid of that gear. They're all in Duke Blue now. She allows her dad, because he has to, for work. But tonight, I bet he's wearing a bit of a darker shade, supporting his daughter in this matchup. Some work to do, though, for the Blue Devils. #1 overall seed, just 2 losses in this incredible season so far. One of those coming right here on this field in the ACC semifinals to this North Carolina team. Trinity Armstrong, the young defending phenom, got into a little trouble there with the touch, concedes the throw. Oliaro. Boy, she can pick out her spots. This one floated up a little bit too close to Gagne. North Carolina is ready to run. Darlene on this side, Thomas on the other. Darlene open in the middle. Duke in recovery mode right now. Thomas will slow things up, wait for help. Right about the 6-yard line, still bouncing around. North Carolina in a fray, but Freeman in the middle of it all for Duke.
Well, Chico's gotten caught out a number of times in this game, actually for both goals. This time almost again. She's the one that goes out wildly. Then here she is tracking back, trying to make the play, clear the lines, and then Freeman's the one that comes off, smothers it, and settles everybody down.
Duke coming back the other way with some pace. Ella Haas, those wide players you've talked about, that Robbie Church has talked about, really key to this Duke attack. Gagne comes charging away, does enough to be a goal kick.
Well, Haas needs to be putting her foot through that ball. Just put it through. She tries to square it across the 6-yard box to lay it off to somebody else. Just strike through it. You're down 2-0. Force the save from Gagne. Allow for a rebound to develop if that's the case. But instead, just squares it across. No one's ready for it, and it allows for North Carolina to get numbers back. Now they win possession, earn the goal kick.
Whistle as North Carolina goes down. Alvarez, freshman who makes her first start of the postseason in this match tonight. Bit of tactical shift for the Tar Heels, knowing what they thought they'd see from Duke. Bibar was lifting the ball quickly, but it was blocked.
The guys had an exceptional night so far in the midfield, in that deeper role for North Carolina. Helping out the back line, just screening in front of them. Now here they go again. Olmark at the helm of it.
Finding a lot of space. Olmark really plays with a free role within this North Carolina offense. Has all those weapons around her. Thomas, Fossey, we're both trying to find the right runs. Laguerre had one of the best chances for Duke in the first half. Minestrella has gotten in behind the North Carolina defense, lays it across, sets it up for Lynch. Haas will regroup. Duke wanting that service. North Carolina keeping it in check for now, but they do concede the corner.
It's a few times Alvarez, who we've talked about, does have the freedom to get forward, but primarily her responsibility is tuck back, make it a 4-back for North Carolina. But she's kept Duke Blue Devils on side. That allows that play to develop, ultimately earn this corner kick.
5th of the match for Duke. It's at the near post. Cleared away. Only player back is Leah Freeman, the Duke goalkeeper, up near midfield. Got a whistle. Player down is at Delarose for North Carolina. A bloody nose, it looks like. All ACC third-team selection this year. There is no one more fit than number 34 for North Carolina. So tough. Broke her own program record in the beep test as a sophomore. Beep test is just a form of torture that we've heard about often, right? The national team in North Carolina does it. But Delarose will come off to get tended to. Evelyn Shores, sophomore from Atlanta, on in her place. Shores in the first half as well. Lynch. It has not been a matter of creating. Duke has done that. Have they been the best quality chances? Maybe, but they're ones they could have finished. Opportunities are there. Duke can continue to find them. Foul against the Blue Devils. See what happened to Tessa Delarose. Watch there at the post on the clearance. Ouch. Cleared that with her face. And she gets worked on. Duke goes to work. Offside flag is up anyway.
But a much better start to this second half for the Duke Blue Devils. Getting Haas more involved. Oliara on this near side. They're getting the runners, but now somebody has to continue to take initiative. They spoke about Haas trying to square that ball across just moments ago. Take your shots. Allow for something to develop or force a save or get a little bit of a rebound, deflection, whatever it takes. Have to cut this lead sooner than later.
North Carolina looking to put the ball back where it came from. And the guy out to Thomas. Can pop up anywhere in that North Carolina attack. Darlene dares defenders to try to stop her without fouling. This Duke team knew they had to keep her in front. Foul against the Tar Heels.
Well, that's why you need to cut this lead, because then you can start to regain even more confidence, a bit more control of the game, because as we're seeing right now, so many numbers forward for the Duke Blue Devils, chasing, trying to get something out of this second half, and that's going to leave space for Fossey, Thomas in behind. One big ball over the top, punished them in the first half.
North Carolina 2 goals in the first 24 minutes of this match. That's where the score stands at the moment. 10 minutes into our second half in Cary. Oliaro. Toe pokes it forward from Minestrella. Well, Duke's asking potentially for a handball on that play.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if we get another look at that. But that's the work that I was talking about from the guy. Asked to do so much, come out of the midfield, track those runners. Well, there's the guy. Oh yeah, no, good no call, yep. Just keeps herself. Arms tucked and just shifts her body so it goes off her hip.
Bibar to Oliaro. Right around the penalty spot where that ball wound up. Minestrella, Armstrong came charging across. Minestrella offside. Are you ready for some football championship games coming your way on ABC on Saturday? You've got the Big 12 at noon with Iowa State and Arizona State. SEC fans, but you got Georgia and Texas in that one. Yes, Marion Crowder, looking at you. And then Clemson and SMU facing off in the ACC championship game. I'm kind of afraid to be around Marion for that SEC championship game. Former Georgia soccer player down on the sideline for us.
It is not just you, Jen. I can promise you that.
Other people don't want to be around you either, Marion? Is that what
Family,
you're telling me?
friends, dogs, co-workers.
Marion, go find yourself a quiet space and we'll
Shut
see you
myself
on
up
Sunday.
and exactly.
Both of these teams in hopes of playing for a championship in women's soccer. No one's won more historically than North Carolina, but it's been over a decade since they last hoisted the trophy. Wake Forest awaits the winner of this one. Demon Deacons will be looking for revenge. Lost to both these teams regular season. A few more of those crosses coming through, but not too dangerous the last couple of times for Duke. Lynch, Minestrella had a defender on her back. You can see Duke just trying to pin it into the corner, regain control, which they do. What needs to be better though, Lori? Last couple of crosses dealt with fairly easily by North Carolina. They get in behind this time. We'll hold that thought. It does go out of play.
Yeah, they're just hopeful balls. They know they need to get the balls to the wide area, so they're doing that well successfully. They're stepping up, winning the first, second balls, pinning North Carolina in, but then it's just letting them off the hook. All they're doing is waiting inside the 18-yard box to be able to make the clearance. Whip it in with pace. If it's not on, pull it back, switch the play, force them to chase a bit more, because right now they're just standing, winning that first ball once it is whipped in.
Robbie Church, is this his final game on the sideline? He said he's really tried not to be too emotional this season and think about those things, but he admitted to us there have been a couple times he wondered, is this maybe the last time? over 40 years in the game. His team losing now, and North Carolina, Darlene on it at the penalty spot. North Carolina makes it 3 goals now. The Tar Heels on a tear.
Oh, this has certainly been the difference. Every single time North Carolina's attacked, they've looked decisive. They've understood what's needed to be played. It all starts from the goal kick, and then Thomas sets this up, wins this battle right here. Chico tight to her, spins her, off and running. Chico's even trying to make up ground, but then Thomas continues to draw the attention. Fosse gets her head up, serves the ball. But right here, just the composure, the calmness from Darlene. 3 defenders on her, brings it down wonderfully, just shimmy of her hips, sees Freeman go one way, tucks it into the back of the net. The other makes it 3-0 for North Carolina. Really, once again, against the run of play, Duke Blue Devils, everybody forward. Thomas starts it, Darlene finishes it.
A goal and an assist now for Fosse as she picked up the assist on that goal by Darlene. Just the 2nd goal of the season. That's kind of hard to believe for Darlene, though she did obviously miss some time away with the US U20 team at the World Cup. How about that, though? 4 of her 7 goals in her career coming in the NCAA tournament. She knows what it's about on the big stage.
Well, drawing the foul on the first goal and scoring the 3rd one, but Thomas just been the difference maker up top, creating. One goes off the crossbar. She tucks the 2nd one in. Starts this one. Just a wonderful attack for North Carolina. I mean, they've just been so decisive with their decision making, but then when it's really making the Duke Blue Devils pay once they do get into the attack.
And Darlene had 3 goals in 2022. Last time the Tar Heels were in the College Cup. They wound up losing that year in the final to UCLA in overtime. An excruciating finish for North Carolina as they gave up a goal late. Thought they had that in the bag, but it was not meant to be. And just as Duke is playing for Robbie Church, this North Carolina team, the players very vocal, telling us they're playing for their interim head coach, Damon Nahas, and Damon is playing for Anson. For the players too, coaching I should say. Wants to give Anson Dorrance the gift that has eluded him over the last decade after winning more than any other coach will ever see again. 22 national championships for Anson Dorrance and the Tar Heels.
There's still definitely a ton of time to play in this game, and a big deficit for the Duke Blue Devils to have to work their way out of in the next 30 minutes. And it's credit to this young North Carolina team. Came out on the front foot, and really not the performance I think in the first half that you would expect from Duke.
Yeah, first time all season that Duke has trailed by 3. They were down 3-1 against Notre Dame, did come back to tie that game 3-3 late October. This, though, perhaps as good as we've seen this North Carolina team look all season, and they've been pretty good all season long. You know, one of the things that's interesting looking at North Carolina is the fact that they have no ties. 20-5 is their record when you consider they had 8 ties last season. Most in program history. Is there anything to that, you think? The mentality to finish things off, or anything that's different in terms of being able to just get the result this time around?
Well, one of the things that those players that we spoke to yesterday, the leadership group for North Carolina, is their motto is refuse to lose. And I think when you put ties into that as well, just doing whatever they can to find ways to grind out results, be gritty. Saw that in the first half, especially just the aggression that they came out with to put this Blue Devils team under a ton of pressure, but then put their chances away. I mean, that's what it's all about in these moments. No, we said tactics go out the window essentially, especially with this rivalry, because you know each other so much, but to battle, to find just the little details to take advantage of. And difference was North Carolina getting first to things, winning those duels, but then putting their chances away. And that's what's eluded this Duke team so far in this game, is they just haven't been able to capitalize, or someone really taking initiative and saying, hey, this isn't good enough, let's go.
Now a 3-goal deficit for the Blue Devils to try to fight out of. Duke still out shooting North Carolina 14-9. The two teams, even though with their 5 shots on goal, none of those finished off by Duke. 5 saves made by Claire Gagne. Chico. Leading ball, maybe a little bit too much of a lead on it for Goldthwait. Thomas, left free and offside. Well, the Nahas connection so strong here in North Carolina. Obviously, Damon Nahas, interim head coach for the Tar Heels. What a job he has done, and taking over for Anson Dorrance this year. And then his brother, Sean Nahas, head coach of the North Carolina Courage in the National Women's Soccer League. We are on their home turf officially. This is the Courage's home field at Wake Med Soccer Park. Sean not going to miss this opportunity to come see some great collegiate soccer. There's no more college draft, so coaches even more so have to be doing their due diligence, see who they might be wanting to go after. So competitive in the NWSL. And the Courage, gosh, they're just about unbeatable on this home field. Had an incredible stretch of games where they did not lose dating back to last season. I think that was finally snapped late in the regular season this year. But they have made this place a fortress, which means he definitely knows where all the heated areas are, right? Sean Nahas, he knows where to go get a little warmth when he needs it.
I think directly across from us is that heated area. See that bright blue jacket that he has on. Seems suspicious that we're on the opposite side.
Hey, we can't complain. Our people have taken
That's
wonderful
true.
care of us.
Good point, good point.
I'm
not even cold, Marion. We're not even cold anymore.
Sorry, Marion. Oh, head over heels goes Trinity Armstrong defending for the Tar Heels. Some frustration maybe seeping out of Maggie Graham. Is this the last time for the Duke captain to face North Carolina, to take the field in a Duke uniform? You start perhaps having those thoughts creep in. Ullmark.
Well, that's the challenge in these moments as a player. Here we go with Thomas again. Even when you think that you get a toe in and dispossess her, the wave of North Carolina players coming underneath as well. Whether it's Ullmark, whether it's Fossey that's pinched in, but that is the challenge as a player. When you know this could potentially be your last game, is you want to continue to fight, you want to continue to work harder, but sometimes that works against you. So can you still just have some patience, composure, calmness in these moments? Connect your passes. Doesn't have to be 90 miles an hour, doesn't have to be the best pass. Just connect, try to draw defenders out, get the advantages that you want, the matchups you want, but just passes like that have been continuously putting them in precarious situations and under pressure throughout this game.
I think players in both uniforms are surprised there was no call either way on that last interchange, but Ullmark going it alone, really, nobody there for North Carolina.
Well, comparatively to this entire season, this back line for Duke looks a little bit out of sorts. We're seeing Chico a number of times pinch over, and yes, they do know they want to get pressure, then coverage around Thomas, just with her ability to get faced up and run it back lines. But once they do get pinched over, she just laying a ball off, and then they get runners around those 3 center backs that have narrowed the field so much. Just about keeping the continuity of your back line, delaying as much as possible, and then allowing for the help to come.
Tony DeLuz, Wake Forest head coach, waiting to see who he will face in the final on Monday night. We'll have it for you here on ESPNU. Somebody tipping Tony off and we're showing him on camera, probably. Congratulations to him and the job that he has done, the job his team has done. Both Wake Forest and Duke left out of the NCAA field a year ago, now both in the College Cup, and Wake taking a step their program had never taken, getting to the final. Duke, though, in dire straits at the moment, down 3 to North Carolina, searching, it feels like, Lori, for the answers, for something that can break down this North Carolina team. Oliaro has come back onto the field for Duke. There is Thomas. Just pins defenders behind her.
One demands attention. So then that's why that back line has been a bit all over the place for the Duke Blue Devils, because she demands the players around her to come over, help. Lose the continuity of your team, your back line.
Armstrong having to come over and provide assistance as Elgin was in some trouble. That ball over the top really dealt with well by Elgin initially. But Oliaro asking questions of this North Carolina defense. Well, we've got a great top 10 men's college hoops matchup Saturday night, ESPN2. Otega Owe, number 4 Kentucky taking on Ryan Nemhart and number 7 Gonzaga. East-West showdown there, coverage beginning at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN2. Maggie Graham will make a run for this. Armstrong does keep it in play, but Oliaro there to pick it up for the Blue Devils. Gets past Armstrong. Those two are having a good battle. Goldthwaite serves it through. You do wonder, of course, what one goal could do for a difference in Duke in this match. Goals do have a way of changing games. But North Carolina really stingy. They conceded their first goal of this NCAA tournament in their last match, quarterfinal against Penn State, which they won in overtime. Kate Fossey with the golden goal winner for the Tar Heels in that one. Talk a lot about Duke's defense, but North Carolina's defense had shut out all their opponents too up until that one goal from the Nittany Lions. Lynch. Now there's no lack of effort here from Duke, Lori, but execution maybe not at the level it needs to be to best this Tar Heel team.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this team is working hard. They're working together. They've actually created a number of quality chances. Really just the efficiency, though, at which they're going about, and the execution. And that has quite literally been the difference in this game. North Carolina hasn't needed a ton of chances because they put theirs away. Now they're able to sit back. They're able just to get numbers back behind the ball and make it even more difficult for Duke in the attack. And then you have Thomas, you have Darlene, are still causing loads of trouble when the ball is cleared.
Alvarez.
Lori, to add to your point, it's all about keeping that level of aggression for UNC. Yes, we can still see that they're putting pressure on the ball, but it's about having the conservative attitude as well.
Let's see what happens here. We'll get right back to Marion.
Yeah, and that conservative attitude was reminded by Damon Haas to Trinity Armstrong. We know that Trinity is an aggressive center back, likes to jump and pick passes off into the forward's feet. He urged her, Trinity, that's not where we're at right now. You have to drop off. There's space in behind. That's not the game we're playing. So it's about finding that balance and keeping it for UNC.
Now, so far, so good, but yes, those little details can make a difference. Whether you're trying to climb back into a match or hang on to a lead, as North Carolina is now. Armstrong, young center back to keep an eye on, both for the college team, professional team you eventually may see her on, and maybe for the U.S. national team. There are your 3 goal scorers for the Tar Heels tonight. Fossey with the penalty, and then the assist on the last goal to Darlene as well. Almost feels sometimes like Duke is just, they're running out of answers. This is what they know to do. They just keep doing the same thing, but they're not getting any sort of a different result. Is there anything, I don't want to say drastic, desperate, but unexpected perhaps? That's one thing that Kieran Hall, who you just saw there, associate head coach, who will be taking over this Duke program for Robbie Church. Robbie talked about how Kieran is just so intuitive, and he watches soccer all the time. He's always coming up with new things to try. Is there anything that you could envision here, Lori, that Duke needs to try to maybe just catch North Carolina by surprise a bit? Because Tar Heels looks like they have the Duke game plan read pretty well.
Yeah, they certainly do, which was, again, just coming out, making sure that they got that first goal, put them on their back heel, and make them feel stressed in a lot of ways. Stressed and have to chase this game. And then when you leave yourself vulnerable because you have to send numbers forward, that plays right into the game plan as well. Darlene running at certain moments, Olivia Thomas, because this has been the majority of possession. If we look at those stats, it will no doubt be in the favor of the Duke Blue Devils. But what do you do with that possession? They found themselves in wide areas. Then once again, it has been somewhat of hopeful balls played in, whether there's just too much air underneath them, not enough pace, bend.
This one from Oliaro resulted in a good chance.
Well, even situations like this that just allow for North Carolina to get themselves set and be the first to it. And then at least get a little bit of a touch on that to make it even more difficult for Lynch to be able to take that first time out of their air. It's just the littlest details, but they matter in these moments. And maybe you weren't seeing that in the beginning of the year, throughout the season. That's when you have to be just that much better. When you're giving up 3 goals, it means even more too, because again, you're gonna be chasing this game, and it allows North Carolina just to be able to get themselves set and make the plays defensively and just be disruptive for a lot of the game or the second half.
Well, Duke able to win both of the regular season meetings between these teams, but North Carolina won here in their last meeting in the semifinal. And I wonder, Lori, if there's anything that as the season has gone on, or even perhaps in that game in particular, that North Carolina has used and figured out about this Duke team.
Well, one is that they shifted their formation. We saw them shift their formation in the ACC tournament. Go to a 3-back. They wanted to be more aggressive. And again, I talked about this being a hybrid. Alvarez can't discount what she's done defensively on that far side. Asked to tuck in, really allows them to be in a 4-back at times, have extra coverage, but also allows Darlene to get higher up the field. And that pushes and really forces Oliaro to have to come back at times, or what we've seen throughout this game, put Chico in positions that she does not want to be in. Flat-footed inside her 18-yard box, brings Darlene down when she had a little bit of time and space. So just a little bit of tweaks in what they've done in terms of their formation And then they've stuck with it because it's been successful. They stuck with that formation, this setup throughout the tournament, and it's gotten them the results.
That's excellent analysis, my friend. I'm going to give you a break from talking now just a little bit.
I think it's on purpose. You don't want to hear me the next few days.
I expect you to rest and drink lots of tea with honey over the next couple days, okay?
See you Monday.
We will be back here on Monday night. We hope you'll come back with us as well as our coverage continues for the final of this NCAA Women's College Cup. We'll have it here in Cary. Wake Forest taking on, at the moment, it's North Carolina. If the Tar Heels can hang on here, 12 minutes to go in this one. North Carolina won that regular season meeting against the Demon Deacons, 1-0. Guess who had the game winner? That would be the nation's leading goal scorer yet again, Kate Fossey in that one. A tight game. Ball over the top could pay dividends, but Haas couldn't bring it down initially in the path of the goal. Redirected herself out wide. Duke earns themselves a corner.
And look who it is on that far side, Nagai. Once again, she's had to put in so much work, making sure that she follows those midfielders that are making the runs out of the midfield for Duke. Tracked back, really putting in the work, and it's allowed Tessa Del Rose to stay home in the midfield, so when they do win it, they do have options to be able to play out of.
Mary Long back onto the field, and Del Rose back for the Tar Heels. Had that bloody nose earlier. Looks like she got that taken care of as she returns. Places Olmark. A little more defensive presence for North Carolina. Is there an opportunity to be had on the corner for the Blue Devils? Nobody got to the first one. Groff took a swing at the second ball. Catch her if you can. That should be a yellow for sure, as there's no doubt that Darlene was off to the races. Now, it's at least a yellow, I'll say that. That is the card that comes out of the pocket of Ashley Cedro. I think there were some other defenders potentially in the vicinity here.
Yeah, you had Thomas above as well, and Roland knows exactly she's not going to win this race. Anytime Darlene gets any sort of momentum with the ball at her feet, she's winning that race.
Roller, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, had a tremendous year. Just a sophomore. You forget that sometimes, how young she still is for this Duke team.
I'll tell you what, one of the common themes throughout all four of these teams this year, really outside of North Carolina in some ways, the other three teams, was the underdog mentality. Duke even talked about it coming into this game. Fewer fans they expected for them coming into this game, but they hoped that would play into their favor in terms of still that underdog mentality. Wake Forest, no one really counted them in, unranked at the beginning of the year before they went on a tear. Same with Stanford with the amount of injuries that they've had and going undefeated last year before losing in the championship game. But North Carolina, I would say, is playing with an underdog mentality for maybe the first time in program history.
I would say ever.
Yeah, because I mean, if you just look at it, 9 transfers, only 1 starter remaining from last year's team. I mean, there's been a lot of change. In some ways, a lot of change that hasn't really been talked about in terms of why those were the cases. And if you look at this team, I mean, everybody's had to step up. Everybody's had to play a role, an important role. They're really working together. It feels like there's an underdog mentality in that.
Yeah, North Carolina told us, they said this is the season that people on the outside looked and said, this is the one where North Carolina should fail or could fail, because you've got the only coach you've ever known, the most successful coach in the history of the game, leaving the program. He retires just before the start of the season, Anson Dorrance. You have all those players leaving, whether it was transfer or going pro.
Yep.
They had a lot of that as well. And so this team said, look, we just had to block all of that out. Only the people who are within this group, within this program, know what's really going on. They relied on one another. I think that really galvanized them quite a bit for the season and gave them that underdog mentality that has really not been something they've been able to call upon in their time as a program. Under 9 minutes to go in the match, in the season, in the career of Robbie Church for Duke. Unless the Blue Devils can find some last-minute magic. Laguerre had a great shot in the first half that wound up going off the post. Leah Freeman, ACC Goalkeeper of the Year in her second year with the Blue Devils after transferring from Oregon. Ball is put behind Goldthwaite. She recovers to try to make something of it. Good numbers around the ball for North Carolina. You know Maggie Graham, number 19, is going to find her way to the ball some way, somehow. Too long this captain, Herman semifinalist for Duke, has played in this rivalry, has worn the Duke uniform and represented this school. All ACC first team selection. Her older sister Delaney, also part of the Duke Blue Devil soccer legacy. But North Carolina and Kate Fossey still in the show tonight. She is our player spotlight, brought to you by Fairfield all season long, Lori. She has been scoring the goals for this North Carolina team, and if that penalty stands as the game winner, that'll be her 8th of the season. Yeah, exceptional season. And you know, we've heard David Nahas talk about giving players free roll. They're intuitive players up top, not too much information, and it's really allowed her to be able to shine, just go after this season. Seen her tuck in centrally at times, play out wide when necessary, or up next to Olivia Thomas. Stepped up for that penalty kick in the first half to put the team up 1-0, and they wouldn't look back since. Alvarez is fouled here. That'll set up a free kick, which no doubt North Carolina will take its time in setting up. Well, the word that we heard, Damon Nahas also mentioned coming into the second half, was responsible. And so far, they've done what they needed to do to lock down this game. Got the decisive goal in terms of the third goal in this second half from Darlene. We've got numbers back behind the ball. Made it really difficult for the Duke Blue Devils to be able to break them down. These two programs separated their schools by 8 miles, one of the most heated rivalries in sports. Damon Nahas telling Marion Crowder earlier, can't be about that tonight. It's got to be about the stage you're on, the goals you've set for yourselves as a team. For North Carolina, that standard is always get here, win here, bring home a national championship. Really impressive performance by the Tar Heels tonight against a team that had bettered them twice in the regular season and had been the best in the ACC in the regular season. Our referee slips and gets back to her feet. Give all of our referee crew a lot of credit tonight too. They're battling these cold temperatures. How much fun has it been to watch Olivia Thomas? You're not done yet, Olivia. Did you think you were just gonna sit over there on the bench? No, Had to quickly get herself back into game mode, take all those warm layers off. Come back on. Sophomore who has been an absolute menace to the defense tonight. Thomas goal in the 24th minute, adding to the scoreline for North Carolina in this semifinal matchup. Her 8th goal of the season. But now for North Carolina, it is truly just about holding on, keeping the shutout, taking care of business, getting ready for Monday's championship. Picked up by the Blue Devils. Coverage of our NCAA championships continues with the Women's College Cup final on Monday. That's December 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. For more information on the NCAA Women's College Cup, log on to ncaa.com, the official home for all 90 NCAA championships. Corner coming for the Blue Devils. It is driven into traffic. That may be part of the reason Thomas is in there. She wins it for North Carolina. Well, Freeman is way out of her goal, but Thomas at the moment has no interest. She could just keep possession, force Duke to take it off of her foot, which is no easy task. Nobody home after all that work, but just 3 minutes remaining for Duke. Perhaps reality starting to sink in for some of these Blue Devil players. Put together such a tremendous season for themselves, for Robbie Church in his last year. Gagne solid in the air again. Air Claire hanging on to the ball. Only once this season has this Duke team been shut out, once before tonight. That was the first game of the season. They lost on the road at Ohio State. They then went on a 15-match unbeaten streak, continued to grow into their season, but just could not find their way against North Carolina tonight. North Carolina defense has shut down what had been one of the top scoring offenses in the country. 68 goals, a program record for Duke. They were 3rd in the nation in scoring, number 1 in assists. They've outshot the Tar Heels tonight, nearly doubled the output in terms of shots, 17-9, but North Carolina, the team that's made them count. Thomas draws 3 defenders. Gets it back from Shores. 1 minute to go, and the North Carolina fans can sense it and celebrate it now. Starting to make some noise. And this Duke team, which has talked all season long about playing together for just one more game and then making it one more game. They were hoping to give that man there at least one more game after tonight. Not meant to be. Robbie Church, his last game on the sideline for the Duke Blue Devils tonight, and what a career he has had, Lori. You can't find someone who has a bad word to say about Robbie Church.
Just what a career it has been for Robbie Church and what he's done for this program. Even during the times when they weren't scoring as many goals as we saw this season. It really was all about playing quality soccer, developing players as soccer players and human beings.
Tonight, though, it is the Tar Heels back on top. North Carolina takes down Duke. The Tar Heels are back in the national championship, and what is no doubt an emotional embrace on the sideline there between Damon Nahas and Robbie Church. These two teams that know one another so well, heightened emotions on both sides of this rivalry. Fossey celebrating another big game for her and the Tar Heels. And on the other side, the full weight of what this means as careers come to an end, both for players like Maggie Graham and Robbie Church.
With tonight's victory, the Tar Heels advance to the championship on Monday at 7.
But this North Carolina team just too much tonight.
Tickets are still available for Monday's national championship match.
The past and the future of this Duke program. An emotional moment there. Kieran Hall will have this program in good hands, as Robbie Church, you can bet, is just using every bit of restraint that he has right now to try to keep himself composed, and we cannot wish him anything but the best. Robbie, you're finally going to get to go put your feet up, sit on the beach. Anson says it's great. He's been telling us he's been doing that for North Carolina. But Robbie Church going out tonight as North Carolina gets the win.